My God. Quite some.
Well, you've done it at last.
Ja, maar weet je ja.
want to, oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's more comfortable like that, yeah. Thank you.
light. They are vast vision and eternal suns, oceans of an immortal luminous light, flame hills as salty heaven with their peace.
Good morning, everyone. In the last several sessions, several weeks, we have been reading in Book 10 of Savitri. This long section may have a special interest for us, since it's the part of the poem which the mother took a decision that she wanted to translate it into French. She said not to show to anybody, but for me, myself, to learn and understand. She mentioned that it was the part of the poem which could teach her more about Sri Aurobindo's understanding. So those of you who read the agenda, you can have a look at that section where the mother was regularly translating passages from this Book 10. I think the last time we met, we might have come towards the end of Canto 3. Now the next canto which we can embark upon next is the fourth of the 4 cantos of this book, and it's called The Dream Twilight of the Earthly Real. Death is trying to convince Savitri of earthly realities, to give up all this dream of bringing Satyavan back to life in the world. So I think we had reached page 663.
Which line? 785.
I think Gangalakshmi hasn't heard you, Anandi.
Which line?
785 for the last diagram. 786. Yeah, I understand 663, but line of
Very first thing she has
Seven,
finished. We have
786.
started
Okay. Thank you.
So this continues this debate between the god of death and Savitri. I think I would like to start in the middle of page 648 with the line that reads, "The world is not cut off from truth and God." And Savitri tells this spirit of death, "In vain you have dug this dark, unbridgeable gulf. In vain thou hast built the blind and doorless wall. Despite the fact that you've built this wall and this gulf, man's soul still manages to cross through thee, through you, death, to paradise. despite all your efforts, heaven's sun forces its way through death and night. And she continues, she says, my mind is a torch lit from that eternal sun. My life is a breath drawn by the immortal guest, the divine. My mortal body is the eternal's house. We find in the course of the poem that Sri Aurobindo often refers to the human body as a house which to be inhabited by the divine. So a couple of lines further down she says this house of the body becomes part and one. It's united with the householder, the divine presence. How are you daring to say that truth can never light the human mind, and bliss can never invade the mortal's heart? How can you say that God cannot descend into this world that he has made? And she continues, she says, if in the meaningless void, the empty universe, creation could rise, if from a bodiless force matter was born, if life could climb in the unconscious tree, if green delight could break into emerald leaves and its laughter of beauty blossom in the flower, if sense, the capacity for sense feeling, could wake up in the tissue, nerve and cell of the human body or the animal body, and if thought could seize the grey matter, that strange liquid stuff that is our brain, and if soul could peep out, we feel that the soul is contained or hidden in the body, but if it could peep out from its secrecy through the flesh, through this material flesh of the body, if that's possible, then how shall the nameless light not leap on men and unknown powers emerge from nature's sleep? Even now, hints of a luminous truth, like stars, arise in the mind-mooned splendor of ignorance. We human beings are subject to ignorance and death, and maybe the only light of consciousness we have is like a moon. Even now, she says, the deathless lover's touch is near, is close. And because the dark atheist body doesn't know about him, about the Lord, must the sage, one who has wisdom, deny the light? the seer deny his soul? She insists, I am not bound by thought or sense or shape. I, Savitri, live in the glory of the infinite. I am near the nameless and unknowable, the ineffable, what cannot be expressed, is now my household mate, my close companion. But more than all that, standing on eternity's luminous brink, she says, on the edge of eternity and infinity, I have discovered that the world is He, was He. I have met spirit with spirit, self with self. But I have loved too the body of my God. I have pursued Him in His earthly form. A lonely freedom cannot satisfy a heart that has grown one with every heart. She insists, I am a deputy. I'm speaking for the whole aspiring world. My spirit's liberty I ask for all. This is her claim and her demand.
I have one question about the last line. My spirit liberty is...
My spirit's liberty, the freedom of my spirit, I'm asking that everybody should have that for all beings in the universe. That's why she's demanding back the soul of Satyavan.
Thank you.
Will you read, Noel?
Then rang again a deeper cry of death.
We're starting at the break on page 649. Sorry, I went back a little bit at the beginning. Yes.
Then rang again a deeper cry of death, as if beneath its weight of sterile law, oppressed by its own obstinate, meaningless will, disdainful, weary, and compassionate, it kept no more its old intolerant sound, but seemed like life's in her unnumbered path, toiling forever and achieving naught. Because of birth and change, her mortal powers, by which she lasts, around the term posts fixed, turning of a wide circling, aimless race, whose course forever speeds and is the same. In its long play with fate and chance and time, assured of the game's vanity, lost or won, crushed by its load of ignorance and doubt, which knowledge seems to increase and grow, to enlarge. The earth mind sinks, and it despairs, and looks old, weary, and discouraged on its work. Yet was all nothing then, or vainly achieved. Some great thing has been done, some light, some power delivered from the huge inconscious grasp. It has emerged from night. It sees its dawns, circling forever, though no dawn can stay. This change was in the Godhead's far-flung voice. His form of dread was altered and admitted, our transient effort at eternity. Yet flung vast doubts of what might else have been, on grandiose hints of an impossible day.
Thank you. Here the poet is describing a change in the voice of death, not only in his words and intention, but in the very sound of it, you know. He says this change was in the Godhead's far-flung voice. He's speaking loudly, his voice is reverberating through the universe. But there's a change in it. He's not as skeptical as he has been. Even his form, his dreadful form, has changed. It seems to accept, he says, admitted to accept our transient effort at eternity, this attempt, this hope of humanity for a greater and higher life. He even asked this question, has everything always been worthless, nothing? Or whatever was achieved has been achieved in vain? In the sound of his voice, there seems to be the suggestion, the acceptance that some great thing has been done. Some light, some power has been delivered from the grasp of inconscience. Something has emerged from night, some consciousness. That consciousness has emerged from the night, and it sees its dawns circling forever. The dawn comes again and again and again and again. Even though no dawn can stay forever, still those dawns come. They're always a sign of hope and new possibility. So there's some kind of acceptance has been or is being expressed in the sound of the voice of the God. But he's still expressing his vast doubts of whatever else might have been happened. Dana, could you read from the great voice surging cried to Savitri?
The great voice surging cried to Savitri, because thou knowest the wisdom that transcends both veil of forms and the content of forms, arise delivered by the seeing gods. If free thou hadst kept thy mind from life's fierce stress, thou mightest have been like them omniscient, calm. But the violent and passionate heart forbids. It is the strong word of an unearthed power that would upheave the world and tear from it the indecipherable scroll of fate. Death's rule and law and the unknowable will. Hasteners to action, violators of God, are these great spirits who have too much love, and they who formed like thee, for both art thou, have come into the narrow bounds of life with two large natures overleaping time, worshippers of force who know not recoil, their giant wills compel the troubled years. The voices are tranquil, silent the great hills, ride ceaselessly towards their unreached sky. Seated on their unchanging ways, their heads, dreamless in heaven's immutable domain. On their aspiring tops, sublime and still, lifting halfway to heaven the climbing soul. The mighty mediators stand content to watch the revolutions of the stars. Motionlessly moving with the might of earth, they see the ages pass and darkness sing. The wise think with the cycles, they hear the tread of far-off things. Patient, unmoved, they keep their dangerous wisdom in the depths restrained. Lest man's pride race into the unknown should sink, dragged like a ship by bound
Leviathan.
Leviathan into the abyss of his stupendous seas.
So he's telling Savitri, you're asking too much. He says, those who are really wise, they are tranquil, they are calm, they don't make a fuss. They're like great hills, silent hills, rising ceaselessly up towards the sky, even though they don't reach it. He started speaking about her heart. And at the bottom of page 650, we read, he says, you are one of these great spirits who have too much love. So there are other great spirits like you who have come into this world, into the narrow bounds of universal life. But your natures are too large. You want to leap over time. You want to speed things up. You are worshipping force. You're not familiar with the way that this force, this power, recoils back on itself and does damage. You are like these people with too large natures who try to go beyond the boundaries of time. He says, if you are wise, you would be more patient. The wise think with the cycles, the universal cycles that come and pass. Those who are truly wise hear the tread of far off things, things that will happen in the future. And because of that, they're very patient and unmoved. They keep their dangerous wisdom hidden in their depths. Because if they shared their wisdom or acted on it, then man's frail days might get dragged into the abyss, into the dark depths, like bound Leviathan. Leviathan is the biblical word for the whale, the gigantic sea being. Those who hunt whales run the danger of getting dragged down to the bottom of the ocean by the very whale they have caught. So he says a ship who's connected to a whale like that can get dragged into the abyss of the sea. So when the divine beings, the gods, come too near to human life, everything gets upset. All moves, is in peril, anguished, torn, upheaved. Time itself, the hurrying eons, they would stumble on too swiftly, too quickly, if strength from heaven surprised the imperfect earth, and veilless knowledge smote these unfit souls. We are not ready for these powers and revelations. The divine beings have screened, have hidden their dreadful power. God hides his thought, and even he seems to err, he seems to make mistakes. So death advises Savitri, be still. Don't rush forward too quickly. Be still and tardy. Take your time in the slow, wise world. Mighty art thou. He admits that she has great power because she's filled with the dread goddess, the Supreme Divine Mother. You prayed to her at dawn in the dim woods. But just because you have that power, don't use your strength like the wild Titan powers who are always trying to outdo the gods. He warns her. He says, use not thy strength like the wild Titan souls. Don't touch the seated lines, what has been established. Respect the calm of great established things.
The same argument was put before Ashwapati by the Divine Mother also in Book 3, no?
Sorry?
In Book 3,
Yes.
the same argument was put before Ashwapati when he was asking her to come down.
Yes. Yes. Mm. Anyway, let's see what Savitri replies. Turiya, would you read? But Savitri replied to the huge god.
But Savitri replied to the huge god, what
What is the calm thou longest, O Lord, O death? Is it not the dull vision tread not of monstrous energies, chained in a stark ground, soulless and stone-eyed, with mechanic dreams? Vain the soul's hope, if changeless law is all. Ever to the new and the unknown, press on the speeding eons, justifying God. What were earth's ages, if the gray restraint were never broken, and glories sprang not forth, bursting their obscure seed? While man's slow life leaped, hurried into sudden, splendid path by divine words and human gods revealed, impose not upon sentient minds and hearts the dull fixity that binds inanimate things. Well is the unconscious wolf of the animal breeze, content to live beneath the immutable yoke. Man turns to another walk, a master path. I trample on thy law with living feet, for to arise in freedom I was born. If I am mighty, let my force be unveiled, equal companion of the dateless powers. Or else, let my frustrated soul sink down, unworthy of Godhead in the original sleep. I claim from time my will is eternity, God from his moments. Death replied to her, why should the noble and ignoble immortal will stoop to the petty works of transient birth, freedom forgotten and the eternal's path? Or is this the high use of strength and thought, to struggle with the bonds of death and time, and spend the labor that might earn the gods, and battle and bear agony of wounds, to grasp the trivial joys that earth can guard in her small treasure chest of passing things? Child, hast thou trodden the gods beneath thy feet, only to win poor shreds of earthly life? For him thou lovest concerning the great release, keeping from early rapture of the heavens his soul, Millennium deities have called. Are thy arms sweeter than the words of God?
So what does she answer? David?
She answered, straight I trample on the road, a strong hand hewed for me, which planned our paths. I run where his sweet, dreadful voice commands, and I am driven by the reins of God. Why view he wide his scheme of mighty worlds, or fill infinity with his passionate breath? Or wherefore did he build my mortal form, and sow in me his pride and proud desires? If not to achieve, to flower in me, to love, carving his human image, richly shaped in thoughts and largeness and golden powers? Far heaven can wait our coming in its calm. Easy the heavens were to build for God. Earth was his difficult matter. Earth the glory, game of the problem and the race and strife. There are the ominous masks, the terrible powers. There it is greatness to create the gods. Is not the spirit immortal and absolved, always delivered from the grasp of time? Why came it down into the mortal space? A charge he gave to his high spirit in man and wrote a hidden decree on nature's top. Freedom is this with ever-seated soul, large in life's limits, strong in matter's knots, building great stuff of action from the worlds to make fine wisdom from coarse, scattered strands, and love and beauty out of war and night. The wager wonderful, the game divine. What liberty has the soul which feels not free, unless stripped bare and cannot kiss the bonds the lover winds around his playmate's limbs? Choosing his tyranny, crushed in his embrace, to seize him better with her boundless heart, she accepts the limiting circle of his arms, bows full of bliss beneath his mastering hands, and laughs in his rich constraints, most bound, most free. This is my answer to thy years, O death.
Naren, would you like to go on?
Immutable, that's time met her cry. However mighty, whatever thy secret name, uttered in hidden conclaves of the gods, thy heart's eternal passion cannot break the iron rampart of accomplished peace, with which the great gods hence their camp in space. Whoever thou art behind thy human mask, even if thou art the mother of the worlds, and backs thy claim upon the realms of chance, the cosmic law is greater than thy will. Even God himself obeys the laws he made. The law abides and never can change. The person is a bubble on time's sea. The forerunner of greater truth to come, the sole creator of its sphere of law, wanting of force behind on which it leans, a light above which none but thou hast seen, thou claimest the first fruits of truth's victory. But what is truth and who can find her form? Amid the spacious images of sense, amid the crowding guesses of the mind, in the dark ambiguities of a world peopled with incertitudes of thought. For where is truth and when was her footfall heard, amid the endless clamor of time's mart, and which is her voice amid the thousand cries that cross the listening brain and cheat the soul? Or is truth aught but a high starry name, or a vague and splendid word by which man's thought sanctions and consecrates his nature's choice? The heart's wish, dawning knowledge as its vogue, the cherished idea, elect among the elect, thought's favorite mid the children of half-light, who high-voiced crowd the playgrounds of the mind, For people, its dormitories in infant sleep. All things hang here between God's yes and no. Two powers real, but to each other untrue. Two consort stars in the moon night of mind, that towards two opposite horizons gaze, the white head and black tail of the mystic wake, the swift and the lean foot, wing strong, wing broken, sustaining the body of the uncertain world, a great surreal dragon in the skies. Too dangerously thy high proud truth must live, entangled in matter's mortal littleness. All in this world is true, yet all is false. Its thoughts into eternal cipher run, its deeds swell to time's rounded zero sum. Thus man at once is animal and God, a desperate enigma of God's make, unable to feel the Godhead's form within, a being less than himself, yet something more. The aspiring animal, the frustrated God, yet neither beast nor deity, but man. But man, tied to the kind earth's labor, strives to exceed, climbing the stairs of God to higher things. Objects are seemings and none knows their truth. Ideas are guesses of an ignorant God. Truth has no home in earth's irrational breast. Yet without reason, life is a tangle of dreams. But reason is poised above a dim abyss and stand at last upon a blank of doubt. Eternal truth lives not with mortal man. Or if she dwells within thy mortal heart, show me the body of the living truth, or draw for me the outline of her face, that I too may obey and worship her. Then will I give thee back thy Satyavan. But here are only facts and steel-bound law. This truth I know, that Satyavan is dead, and even that sweetness cannot lure him back. No magic truth can bring the dead to life. No power of earth cancel the thing once done. No joy of the heart can last surviving death. No bliss persuade the past to live again. But life alone can solace the mute void and fill with thought the emptiness of time. Leave then thy dead, O Savitri, and live.
Thank you. Bhavana, you want to go?
The woman answered to the mighty shade, and as she spoke, mortality disappeared. Her goddess self grew visible in her eyes. Light came, a ray of heaven in her face. O death, thou too art God and had not he, but only his own black shadow on his path. As leaving the night, he takes the upward way and drags with him his flaming inconstant force. Of God unconscious, thou art the dark head. Of his ignorance, thou art the impenitent sign. Of his pronounced tenuous womb, the natural child. On his immortality, the sinister bar. All contraries are aspects of God's face. The many or the innumerable one. The one carries the multitude in his breast. He is the impersonal, inscrutable soul. He one infinite person, seeing his world. The silence bursts the eternal's great dumb scene. His light inspires the eternal world. He is the immobile's deep and deathless earth, its white and signless blank negating all. Yet stands the Creator self, the Almighty Lord, and watches His will done by the forms of God and the desire that moves half-conscious man and the reluctant and unseen night. These wide divine extremes, these inverse powers are the right and left side of the body of God. Existence balanced fixed two mighty arms confounds the mind with unsolved abysms of thought. Darkness below, a fathomless light above. In light or joined, but sundered by severing mind. Stand face to face, opposite, inseparable. Two contraries needed for his greatest word thought. Two poles whose currents make the immense world force. In the stupendous secrecy of his self, above the world brooding with equal name, he is both in one, beginningless without end. Transcending both, he enters the absolute. His being is a mystery beyond mind. His ways bewilder not with ignorance. The finite in its little sections part, amazed, credits not God's audacity, who dares to be the unimagined all, and see and act as might one infinite. Against human reason, this is his offense, being known to be forever unknowable, to be all and yet transcend the mystic whole, absolute, to lodge in the relative world of time, eternal and all-knowing, to suffer birth, omnipotent, to sport with chance and fate, spirit, yet to be matter and the void, illimitable, beyond form or name, to dwell within a body, one and supreme, to be animal and human and divine. A still deep sea, he laughs in rolling waves. Universal, he is all. Transcendent, none. To man's righteousness, this is his cosmic crime. Almighty beyond good and evil to dwell, leaving the good to their fate in a wicked world, and evil to reign in this enormous sin. All opposition seems, and strife and chance, an endless labor with but scanty sense, to eyes that see afar and miss the whole. The surface men scan, the depths refuse their search. A hybrid mystery challenges the view, or a discouraging, sordid miracle.
Thank you.
I cannot understand line 4, 9, 492. The cherished ideal elect among the elect. I don't know.
It's the one cherished ideal, no? It's at the bottom of page 656. No? All these contradictions that the Lord seems to face us with, no? These wide divine extremes. And he gives this image of the drake. No? I'm going back to the bottom of page 656. These wide divine extremes, these inverse powers, all these contradictions, are the right and left side of the body of God. Existence balanced between two mighty arms confronts the mind, the human mind, with unsolved abysms of thought. Darkness below and a fathomless light above. In light are joined, but sundered, separated by severing mind. Mind cuts things up. So these opposites stand face to face, opposite, inseparable. And these contraries are needed for the great world task of the divine. They're like two poles, North Pole and South Pole. Two poles whose currents, because there's a movement of force between the different poles. Because the movement wakes up the immense world force. He, God, is both in one. He is beginningless, without end. His being is a mystery beyond mind. His ways bewilder mortal ignorance. The finite, what is limited, separated in its little sections. It's amazed, it can't believe in the audacity of God, who dares to be the unimagined all and see and act as one infinite. Against human reason, this is his offense. This is what we can complain of. Because he's known, he's still unknowable. He's still forever unknowable. He's everything, and yet he transcends the mystic whole. If we go to, sorry, yeah?
In this line 572, I think the poles here, he means in science there's a negative and positive poles on the battery.
Right, yes.
So he's telling about
Yes.
current and the force.
So that brings about movement, action, change. Sorry?
What are the two contradictions? Line 5, 7, page number 657, third line. 657, third line. Two contradictions needed for this great word.
Yeah, he's described them as the two sides of this bird, this amazing bird, no?
And darkness below and light above. These contradictions.
Yes.
The transcending both enter the absolute.
Sorry, read it again, Ganga.
Transcending both
Yeah.
enters the absolute.
Yes.
76.
See, joining the two contradictions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Transcending both.
So what we're reading about here, starting in the top quarter of of page 658, is a plan, a hidden intelligence is glimpsed. A truth supreme has forced the world to be. And it's this truth supreme which has disguised itself as all the contradictions of the world. In the following pages, Savitri is going to describe to us different higher levels of consciousness. So that's what this discussion between Death and Savitri is leading up to.
What we can learn of this, that these two movements will always happen. When we face changes and struggles, that is a process.
Yes.
It's a process of evolution. It's not one thing which is fixed and go forward.
Yes. Will you read it? Would you read? Yes. Where are we? And let's start at the top of page 658. Yet in the exacting conscience, stark conceit.
Yet in the exact inconscience stark conceit, in the casual error of the world's ignorance, a plan, a hidden intelligence is glimpsed. There is a purpose in each stumble and fall. Nature's most careless, plodding is a pose, preparing some forward step, some deep result. ingenious notes plugged into a motive score. These million discords dot the harmonious theme of the evolution's huge orchestral dance. A truth supreme has forced the world to be. It has wrapped itself in matter as a shroud of death, a shroud of ignorance. It compelled the suns to burn through silent space, flame signs of its uncomprehended thought in a wide, ruby ether's formless muse. It made of knowledge revealed in struggling light, of being the substance nation, dense and dumb, of bliss, the beauty of an insentient world, infinite things, the conscious, infinite vast, involved in sleeps in matter's helpless trance. It rules the world from its sleeping, senseless void. Dreaming, it throws out mind and heart and soul, to labor crippled, found on the hard earth. A broken whole, it works through scattered points. Its gleaming shards are wisdom's diamond thoughts. Its shadowy reflects our ignorance. It starts from the nude mass in countless jets. It fashions the being out of brain nerve, a sentient creature from its pleasures and pangs. A pack of feelings obscure, a dot of sense, survives a while, answering the shocks of life. Then, crushed or its force spent, leaves the dead form, leaves the huge universe in which it lived, an insignificant, unconsidered guest. But the soul grows concealed within its house. It gives the body its strength and magnificence. It follows aims in an ignorant, aimless world. It lends significance to Earth's meaningless life. A demigod animal came thinking man. He wallows in mud, yet heavenward, soars in thought. He plays and ponders, laughs and weeps and dreams, satisfies his little longing like the beast. He pours upon life's book with student eyes. Out of this tangle of intellect and sense, out of the narrow scope of finite thought, at last he wakes into spiritual mind. A high liberty begins and luminous room. He glimpses eternity, touches the infinite. He meets the gods in great and sudden hours. He feels the universe as his larger self, makes space and time his opportunity to join the heights and depths of being in light. In the heart's cave speaks secretly with God. But these are touches and high moments lived, fragments of truth, supreme, have lit his soul, reflections of the sun in August still. A few have dared the last supreme ascent, and break through borders of blinding light above, and feel a breath around of mighty ocean, receive a vast of being's message, and bathed in its immense intuitive meaning. On summit mind are radiant altitudes, exposed to the luster of infinity, outskirts and dependencies of the house of truth, appraised estate of mind and measureless. The man can visit, but there he cannot live. The cosmic thought spreads out his vastitudes. Its smallest sparks are here philosophies, challenging with their detailed immensity, each figure in the omniscient scheme of things. But higher still can climb its sending light. There are vasts of vision and eternal suns. Oceans of immortal luminescence. Flame hills assaulting heaven with their peaks. Their dwelling all becomes a blaze of sight. A burning hand of vision leads the mind. Thought trails behind its long comet trail. The heart glows and illuminate and sear. And sense is kindled into identity. A highest flight climbs to the deepest view. In a wide opening of its native sky, intuitions, lightnings range in a bright path, hunting all hidden truths out of their layers. Its fiery edge of seeing absolute cleaves into locked, unknown retreats of self, rummages the sky recessedness of the brain, lights up the occult chambers of the heart. Its spear point ictus of discovery, pressed on the cover of name, the screen of form, strips bare the secret of all that is. Thought there has revelation's sun bright eyes, the word a mighty and inspiring voice, and its truths in most Catholic privacy, and tears away the view from God and love. Then stretches the boundless finite's last expanse, the cosmic empire of the Auroville, time buffer, state bordering eternity, too vast for the experience of man's soul. All here gathers beneath one golden sky. The powers that build the cosmos station take in its house of infinite possibility. Each god from there builds his own nature's world. Ideas are phalanx like a group of suns, each marshalling his company of rays. Thought crowds in masses seized by one regard. All time is one body, space a single look. There is the Godhead's universal gaze, and there the boundaries of immortal mind. The line that parts and joins the hemispheres, closed in one,
closes in
on laborers of the gods, fencing eternity from the toil of time, in her glorious kingdom of eternal light. All ruler, ruled by none, the truth supreme, omnipotent, omniscient, and alone. In a golden country keeps her measureless house. In its corridor, she hears the tread that comes out of the unmanifest, never to return, till the unknown is known and seen by men. Above the stretch and blaze of cosmic sight, above the silence of the wordless thought, formless creator of immortal forms, nameless, investitured with the name divine, transcending time's hours, transcending timelessness. The mighty mother sits in lucent calm and holds the eternal child upon her knees, attending the day when she shall speak the fate. There is the image of our future's hope. There is the sun for which all darkness waits. There is the imperishable harmony. The world's contradictions climb to her and are one. There is the truth of which the world's truths are shreds. The light of which the world's ignorance is the shade, till truth draws back the shade that it has cast. The love our hearts call down to heal all strife, the bliss for which the world's derelict sorrows yearn. Thence came the glory sometimes seen on earth, the visits of Godhead to the human soul, the beauty and the dream of nature's face.
Thank you. I think that's where we'll stop for today.
climbs the deepest view. In the wide opening of its native sky, intuition's lightnings reign in a biped, hunting all hidden truth out of their lair. Soft there, and revelations sung by night. The word of mighty and inspiring voice. And the truth inmost caring of privacy, and tears away the veil from God and the light.
Thanks to Sri Aurobindo.